Welcome to Tom Time, episode 24. Our topic today, AI makes legal work faster. So why is your bill the same? Imagine this. You are hiring a lawyer to do a task that traditionally took 10 hours. This year, thanks to AI, the very same task takes 1 hour. You would expect the bill to shrink. You would expect some of those savings to show up on your invoice. But then the invoice arrives, and it's basically the same. So you ask yourself, where did the savings go? Because the productivity gains are real. And the question then becomes, who gets to keep them? And that's what we are talking about today in my Tom Time. If you attended a legal conference recently, read LinkedIn, or listened to legal tech vendors, you've probably heard the same prediction. Quote, the billable hour is dying or is already dead, unquote. AI is changing everything. Law firms would have to charge less. And frankly, that narrative sounds absolutely logical. Generative AI is being adapted relatively fast in a number of law firms around the globe as well. And corporate legal departments have embraced AI as a technology very well too, often even more boldly than law firms. So most in-house teams therefore expect that AI lowers what they pay outside counsel. And this translates into expectations on the street. Yet when researchers asked legal departments whether they had actually seen savings from their law firms using AI, nearly 60% said no noticeable savings. So let that sink in and let's talk about why is that the case. First, let's clear up something foundationally important. The efficiency gains leveraging AI are happening. Over 90% of legal professionals identify efficiency as AI's clearest benefit. Associates using AI in law firms are producing routine legal work dramatically faster. Drafting that once required 5 hours may now require only one. And research that took half a day might not take longer than 30 minutes nowadays. The productivity dividend is real. So let's just imagine for a minute a factory that suddenly discovers a machine that is capable of producing 100 units of the product in the time it previously produced 10 by human labor. That factory became more productive by a factor of 10. But who captures that additional value? The factory owner, the employees, its customers? Exactly the very same question exists in legal services today. Because when 10 hours of legal work and value get delivered in 1 hour of work, 9 hours of productivity haven't vanished. They are still there, but much faster. And what's the cost? This is also what Harvey claims with its 10x lawyer productivity pitch to venture capitalists. And here's the part that many discussions then skip. While everyone is predicting the death of the billable hour, the American Law 100 revenue actually rose by 13% in 2025 to nearly 180 billion US dollars. That's during the very same period AI adoption accelerated across the industry. In other words, the billable hour didn't collapse. It had one of the finest and strongest years. And granted, there are a lot of alternative fee arrangements out there, but by and large, cost did not come down despite the hypothetical 10x productivity gain. 10 hours shrunk to 1. Why? Because when work becomes faster, firms generally have 3 options. Option 1, reduce the bill, pass the savings on to the client. Option 2, maintain pricing and keep the productivity gain, increase margin and profits. Option 3, use the time saved to handle more legal matters. And for many law firms, options 2 and 3 are much more attractive than option 1. Think about it this way. Another analogy. If you owned a restaurant and suddenly discovered a way to prepare meals twice as fast, would you automatically cut every menu price into half? Probably not. You might serve more customers. You might improve the margins of your restaurant. You might reinvest the money somewhere else. And actually, that is not bad behavior. That's just pure economics. And the same logic applies in the legal sector. At the same time, something else happens, however, as work progresses that I also wanted to note here. Pressure moves downward. Fewer junior lawyers are needed. Fewer hours produced by these junior lawyers are necessary. Higher productivity expectations emerge, and the traditional law firm pyramid structure begins to thin. Many of the graduate and junior associate reductions making headlines recently are not just random side effects. They are signs of the very business model of the law firm adjusting to a new reality. Because if AI can perform portions of work previously done by large numbers of junior professionals, firms naturally have to rebalance resources. And again, this isn't a moral judgment here. It's simply what organizations do when productivity changes, and in our case, especially when productivity increases. That productivity gain, therefore, is undisputed. It exists, but it largely flows upwards and sideways. And very little of it flows directly to clients or to in-house customers. This is where the conversation now actually gets quite interesting, because this is not a fundamentally legal problem. It's an economics problem. Okay? And legal services happen to be an absolute textbook example of what I predict is happening. Throughout history, productivity gains did not automatically flow to buyers. They flow towards whoever has the pricing power. And let's look outside legal in that respect. Banks, for example, they have automated enormous portions of their operations over the last decades. However, did customer fears and fees disappear? No. Airlines also became vastly more technologically efficient. But did flying therefore become really simple and actually cheap because of all the efficiency gains? Not necessarily. So efficiency by itself does not guarantee lower prices. That's what history tells us. But what does lead to lower prices? Competition does. And legal services have historically had relatively weak price competition. Comparing law firms is difficult. Comparing pricing of law firms is also problematic and challenging. Switching firms on top can be very painful and actually quite risky. Clients often can't easily determine what cost of legal actually is the basis. And wherever buyers struggle to see costs clearly, sellers tend to retain the pricing power. And AI did not remove that dynamic. It simply made the gap between cost and price in the legal sector much more visible. And that leads to an uncomfortable conclusion. Many legal departments and in-house law and compliance teams are still waiting for firms to voluntarily pass along the savings. But the economics, as just outlined, suggest that this is very unlikely. So if you're waiting for somebody else to hand over value they can retain by using AI, history suggests you may be waiting for a very long time. Which brings me to maybe one of the most important parts of the conversation that we haven't touched yet. The actual organizations that are capturing the AI dividend. Those who are really having a wonderful time. The legal departments, however, seeing results that are not in line. They are asking for those savings. So they are now restructuring how they provide and buy legal services. Some organizations now explicitly address AI in their outside counsel guidelines. If work is generated primarily by a machine, they don't automatically agree to pay traditional lawyers hourly rates for that output. That's what's going to happen. Not just asking to pass on the savings, foundationally change the purchasing sequence. Others have also shifted towards fixed fee arrangements or fixed scope arrangements, value priced based pricing models. Why does that matter? Because once pricing is linked to outcomes rather than hours, efficiency starts benefiting the clients. And the faster work gets done, the more aligned incentives become in the entire ecosystem. And do you know something important here? The common factor actually is not AI. The common factor is purchasing strategy. The winners didn't just adopt new AI tools. They changed or will change how they make or buy legal and compliance services. They stop buying time and start buying outcomes. And today, roughly 6 in 10 in-house legal leaders say they expect to push for changes in legal pricing models. That represents something much bigger than pure AI adoption. It represents clients beginning to claim structurally and organizationally and strategically the dividend that AI is creating in the ecosystem. And that's the real story. So let's end with this. The billable hour is not dying. It's being defended very robustly and successfully. And it will likely continue being defended for as long as buyers continue waiting for savings rather than restructuring how they purchase services. So every general counsel, legal operations leader, chief compliance officer, or legal services buyer faces one choice. You can continue buying these services exactly as you've always done. And you wait for a discount because of AI deployment that economics and history suggest may rarely arrive on its own. Or you can change how you buy and what you buy in the legal sector. And then chances of booking the productivity dividend yourself increase substantially. Because in the end, nobody is going to hand these dividends out to you voluntarily without being clearly asked or even forced. Have you seen AI generated savings from your outside counsel, I wonder? Or are your invoices looking remarkably similar despite the efficiency gains we've just addressed? The most interesting data point to me isn't what legal strategists predict. It's what you and I are seeing in the real world. Thank you very much for tuning in to today's episode of Tom Time. I hope you found it interesting. Reach out to me if you want to transform your legal or compliance organization smartly and responsibly. See you next week. Thank you for your time. Take care. Bye-bye.